The latest on the war in Ukraine, new airstrikes targeted Lviv, a major city along Poland's border. Today, Ukrainian officials say 4 Russian missiles hit, killing 7 people. The missiles hit 3 military infrastructure sites and a tire repair shop. Until this point, Lviv has been a safe haven for refugees fleeing Ukraine and into Poland and other European countries. The strike comes as the southern port city of Mariupol is on the brink of falling to Russia's military. Ukraine's prime minister gave an update on the besieged city during an exclusive interview with ABC's This Week.
For now, no one big city in Ukraine is not fallen, and only Kherson is under control of Russians' military forces. But all of the rest cities are under Ukrainian control. We have some of the cities under surrounding, so they are besieged, but they're still under Ukrainian control.
Let's bring in ABC's Marcus Moore in Kyiv and former senior CIA field operative Daryl Blocker. Thank you for joining us. Marcus, what more can you tell us about those remarks from the Prime Minister?
Well, Kenneth, those remarks are significant because it does give you a sense that this is a fight that is still very much on. And the Ukrainians, they have not given up. As you heard the Prime Minister say, that Ukraine is in control of the largest cities here, but it is the smaller communities where Russia has been able to make headway, particularly in the eastern part of the country. And Mariupol is where a lot of the heavy fighting, or the heaviest fighting, is centered right now, and that is where those remaining Ukrainian fighters are apparently surrounded by the Russians, who gave them an ultimatum over the weekend to surrender their weapons, and that if they did it by the deadline, they'd be able to leave alive. That mandate, that ultimatum, has been ignored, and the Ukrainians say they are still continuing to defend that city, Kenneth.
Yeah, and let's go to more on that, Marcus. You mentioned that ultimatum, surrender or be eliminated. Daryl, let me ask you about Ukraine's response to those demands there.
I think the Ukrainian response is, quite frankly, the same that they had on the 28th of February on Snake Island. We all know what that response was, and that the Russians have not yet demonstrated their ability to overcome that. So the, surrender or be killed, that refrain has been around since the beginning of warfare. It's just that Russia is, quite frankly, at this point, it's hollow. It's hollow. They haven't proven to be even able to control the parts of the Ukraine that they've been in since 2014, much less trying to extend that beyond into the southwest corners of the Ukraine.
Yeah, what Ukrainians said to the Russians on Snake Island, go blank yourself, is now part of artwork. It's on shirts. It's just about everywhere there in Ukraine. Marcus, what would it mean if Russia does gain control of Mariupol?
Well, for the very reasons you elucidated the response that the Ukrainians had for when the Russians told them to surrender. If they were to win, if they were to take Mariupol, just symbolically, it would be a major victory for Russia in terms of this war. But then strategically, if they could gain control of Mariupol, it could mean that they would then be able to create what they call this land bridge that would connect Crimea to the Donbas region, and would really give them a strategic advantage there. That control of that region could potentially then allow them to rearm their forces and move farther west if they wanted to do that. So they want control of this for a number of reasons, not only strategically, but also symbolically, to have some victory, especially, Kenneth, after they tried to take over Kyiv, and they were kept from doing that and had to retreat from their offensive here, and that was a big blow to the Russians.
Daryl, as you know, so many innocent people, so many innocent lives, families, children caught right there in the middle in Lviv. That city has been considered a safe haven for refugees throughout this war. In light of these strikes by Russia, does it seem like that has now changed?
It's going to change on the daily, but mostly it's changed because when the Russians offer to open up a safe corridor, they don't honor their word. So even if the Ukrainians were to accept what the Russians are trying to force upon them, there's no guarantee that they're still not going to get hit. So, of course, it's better to just hold your ground. And it's much easier to bomb a place than it is to go in and occupy it and control it, because that takes a lot of resources, a lot of logistics, and quite frankly, the will of the people are not going to put up with that. So they can threaten the corridor, they can threaten the relatively safe haven of Lviv in comparison, of course, to Crimea and the eastern portion of the country. But can they really sustain it? I don't think so.
And Marcus, I know you've touched on it, but what's the latest on the fighting there in the capital city where you are?
Kenneth, the fighting largely here in this area has stopped. What the real risk and what we have seen here in Kyiv are the airstrikes. There were a few today, and every day that I've been here, particularly in the early morning hours, we've heard the air raid sirens going off. So this is an area that the Russians have threatened or had threatened to step up their attacks. And certainly the mood here is one of caution, and officials here have urged people to take the air raid sirens seriously, that when they do hear them go off, that they find shelter immediately. And Kenneth, you know that there are a lot of Ukrainians have been eager to get back home, to come back home here to Kyiv because the fighting has stopped, but officials say it is still far too dangerous for people from Kyiv to return home.
They do want to come home. Daryl, let me ask you this before we go and move on here. What is Ukraine's overall strategy at this stage of the war?
Honestly, all I know is I'm very impressed. What we're witnessing is a war like we've never seen. We've seen the war in cyberspace. We've seen it on the ground. We've even seen it diplomatically, but we've never seen it coalesce the way it has. We have hacktivists, which have come to the aid of the Ukrainians. We have multinational global corporations that have supported them, and of course, the nation states that have been behind them. And the cyber piece, the land piece, the diplomatic piece, all of it matters. And whoever is controlling that strategy is doing quite a fantastic job.
All right, Daryl Blocker, Marcus Moore, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.